here's some positive news for you this morning. Household energy bills are expected to fall by about £300 under the new Ofgem price cap.
Yes, according to analysts at the Cornwall Insight, the current rate of £1,928 a year for a typical household is expected to fall to just over £1,600 from April the 1st.
Well, we'll find out the exact detail at about 7 o'clock this morning. In the meantime, let's talk to Senior Research Fellow at the Centre for Energy Policy and Technology at Imperial College London. Heck, that's a mouthful. Malcolm Grimston. Morning, Malcolm. Morning. Positive news. What's driving this?
It's the fall in international gas prices in particular, which are very, very important for not just gas in the UK, but also for electricity. As always happens, when there is a crisis, the world over time manages to find ways around that crisis. We've seen an increase in availability of liquid natural gas across the world. That's brought the wholesale prices down enormously, almost by a factor of 5 or 6, and we're beginning to see that come through into our bills.
For lots of people who are struggling to pay their energy bills, they would have preferred that this energy price cap fall in winter, when it actually made a big difference to the money that they were shelling out every month. But in April, of course, it's going to be warmer, and that financial support is winding down as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can't guess the markets out there. And in fact, the nature of things is that power prices and gas prices are higher during the winter because we're using more of it. And that's the way that markets work. But we're down to about half of the sort of levels we were 18 months ago of the price cap. And we should stress the price cap was never meant to set the price in the market. The price cap was introduced in 2019, well before the crisis, really to protect those customers who didn't shop around very much, who weren't very confident in using price comparison sites and so on, and make sure they weren't being ripped off by the fact they were sticking with a single producer. It became not really a price cap, but the price in the market because of this enormous crisis we've had. Ideally, we're moving back into the world where the price cap for most of us is irrelevant because competition brings prices down well below the price cap. Price cap is just there to prevent any more of the supply companies going bust. Dozens of those went bust during the crisis, and that itself is expensive for the rest of us because their customers have to be looked after and so on.
Where does £1,600 for the average consumer fall compared to what we were seeing before all this crisis?
It's around half as much again, so it's about 50% or so more than we were paying before the crisis really took off. We should remember the crisis didn't begin with the Ukrainian invasion that we've just been hearing about again. There were real signals that the prices were increasing quite rapidly before then, and obviously Ukraine gave it a very great boost. Now the world does take time to respond to those sorts of issues, but it is doing now. I think most of us feel it's unlikely we're going to see power prices and gas prices go back to the levels that they were in 2020 before any of the crisis really emerged. And of course, they were depressed around then because of the beginnings of COVID, which depressed energy demand worldwide and brought prices down. So we're probably not going back to those days which in energy price terms were very attractive, not in other ways, obviously. But nonetheless, this is a long way below what we were paying just 18 months ago.
OK, Malcolm, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed.